So today you've been talking about the integration of various marketing and disciplines. What do you think the biggest challenges are in terms of integration?
Integration is an interesting word, especially as it relates to online gaming and land-based gaming, and try and integrate those two things. But when you couple that with the explosion happening in social media right now, it's a daunting integration. I can tell you that in America, which is where I'm from, I work for a company that owns 3 land-based casinos, one in Pennsylvania, one in Ohio, and one in West Virginia. And we believe we're potential shoo-ins for online gaming licenses. And we are faced with integrating those things, even though there's little to do with one versus the other style of player, because it's about time, and we believe that in social media and the online space, it's discretionary time, and you can play at your convenience, including 3 o'clock in the morning without driving. And land-based, it's very, very different. It's a more physical social experience versus an online community experience. And we've taken a lot of time to understand what's happening in the social media world, and know that the customer experience has to be seamless, flawless, and transparent when navigating from online benefits and clubs to land-based benefits and clubs. So we've taken careful time and consideration in understanding the player profiles, singularly for land-based, singularly online, and those that cross over, and leveraged our brand, our in-club Players Club brand, across all of our assets and our properties to the online space as well. Having a strong brand and viewing iGaming, online gaming, as a competitive threat, meaning the land-based operators may not have a license, then I would take the position that having a strong brand in a land-based operation is not enough. I believe that land-based casinos need the online presence to augment what they do in the land-based space. Direct mail is a good example. Social media is changing the world right now, and there's multiple platforms and multiple networks that can be deployed to augment postal mail, which is what land-based casinos use. And if you think about the reach and the cost to reach in the online space compared to land-based casinos, where just direct mail, they respond to a post office letter or an offer, and you can augment that with a tweet, a text message, an email, a posting on Facebook. There's so many different channels that you can support that with. So we don't view it as a threat because we assume we'll be in that place. And if we're not, I would throw some caution up into the wind and say that there are those that believe that horse racing, for instance, which was a very much land-based operation, and then it went online. They offered OTWs, off-track wagering, so I don't need to go to the racetrack anymore. I can wager at OTW. And then it went to mobile devices. I can wager on my phone. I don't have to go to the OTW anymore. Now I can go online on my internet, on my computer. So all of these things have destroyed on-premise racing, the racing experience, the real passion of the sport. But if you look at the transactions from simulcast, export signals, and how money's being made, that hasn't sustained the same type of hit that the on-premise racetracks have sustained. Now, you can take a lot of speculation that's going on right now in branding and how strong it'll be for land-based operators if they don't get online, and that's all speculation. But I can tell you there's a real model out there if you just look at the racing industry. Currently, the racing industry is now subsidized by most casinos in the United States. And I would think that if casinos don't get online licenses in the United States, that they would be faced with some very difficult decisions to make about their operating costs and their structures. So in America, we're very optimistic about this subject, and we're very optimistic that they will be included in the online licensure.
What do you think the timetable is for iGaming in the States?
Well, Play for Free environment, I'm ready to roll out a Play for Free casino product right now. And it augments my Players Club and the platform that we've developed for the online space, which is a Players Club online. And they can also click a button and play their favorite games online for free, no price consideration. In America, there is already social games out there where you pay for credits, and you can buy credits for real money, but you can't really win real money back. You win more credits to play more games. That's social gaming. And some people call it social gambling, but social gambling is illegal, and it's an oxymoron, I think, because gambling is real money consideration. So I think from the real money perspective, it's a quagmire in the United States right now because the Wire Act of 2011 was interpreted by the DOJ to mean that it's not illegal for online gaming, but we will leave it up to the states to decide. And if you think of the varying agendas between the states because of their economic conditions, their budget deficits, and their populations, and their party, some of the parties, you think Democrats may be on a different side of the issue than Republicans, and California may have 30 million people, and Pennsylvania may have 12 million people, and Iowa might have 1 million people, West Virginia has 2 million people. You have to believe that the needs of those states are materialistically different, and therefore the agendas will be different. So if gaming in the United States goes intrastate, and you can gamble within your state, it's very difficult for a lot of states to be successful with a certain population base. Therefore, reciprocity between states and agreements and understandings are needed. And they will experience precisely what the European bloc countries are experiencing right now, is trying to standardize some overarching regulation and try to agree on that when the economic fundamentals of each of the states are different. I think this conference, ICE, lends itself to the daunting processes that are underway right now in America. We can come to Europe where these executives, these companies, these people, these products have been in this space for some time, and we can take a look at what's worked out here and try to understand why it's worked. And by the same token, ICE offers a concentration of these people to see and understand what has not worked. And we'll try to avoid making some of those mistakes.
Do you find it, as an American, do you find it a bit kind of ironic that kind of what might be regarded as the kind of the home of gaming is sort of like decamping on the other side of the Atlantic to go to what is now, and this event is now the biggest gambling show in the world, bigger than G2E. Do you find there's an irony there at all?
I don't find that there's an irony to it, but I'm happy that it's here. I'm happy that ICE exists. It's my first time here, and I can tell you that I'll be back again next year because the concentration of best practices, of mistakes, of creative thinking, of parties that legitimately want to impart integrity to the online gaming space in a part of the world where there has been some question to some of the platforms that are out there. I think that ICE is the place that brings all the conventional thinking and wisdom together and allows you to quickly appraise your own companies or your personal situation in that space based on what's happening here. So in America, we're still legalizing casinos in states like Boston, and Ohio just went online with their first set of casinos this year, or this past year. So where we think it's a mature gaming market from a land-based perspective, gaming is still proliferating in the States from a land-based perspective as well. So we come here because, and you think about it, a lot of things started in Europe anyway. So you would expect just from a timeline that eventually, people made their way to America and America became America, that maybe you would expect it to happen here first. So I don't think it's ironic that I'm here trying to gain some knowledge of the people that have been at it a few hundred years before me, a few thousand years maybe.
With the Western democracies in particular, chasing budget deficits and the political reticence about increasing direct taxation, particularly in the United States.
Yes.
Do you think that the key driver for iGaming regulation is actually a commercial one?
I think the key driver for iGaming is always about budget deficits and taxation from the political perspective. But we'll use Pennsylvania as an example in the States where I have an existing land-based operation. I pay 60% of my gross gaming revenue to the state of Pennsylvania. And I would suspect that if gaming goes to, let's just assume for a second that it only goes to the lottery, because will be privatized, but it's a direct link to the state and state budgets. That could mean that land-based casinos may go by way of land-based racetracks and see those revenue streams move to offline wagering or online wagering versus on-premise. So I think Pennsylvania, for instance, has a vested interest in the land-based operations because we'll use Pennsylvania again. It's about a $3 billion market per year, roughly, 3.2 billion maybe this past year, and growing. And they get 60% of that, so that's $1.8 billion. They don't have to tax citizens of Pennsylvania. They get to use gaming as a porthole for revenues to satisfy some of those budget needs that the state has. So they have to be very careful that they don't take from Peter to pay Paul, that there needs to be a net gain for the state, there needs to be a net gain for the lotteries, and there needs to be a net gain for land-based operators. And I think that wisdom will prevail over politics because there's too much at stake right now. There's too much capital investment in land-based operations. The lottery needs to be successful because as gaming casinos provide revenues to the state, so does the lottery. It's a major source of income for that. We appreciate that, and we believe, and I think conventional wisdom will prevail, and logic will prevail, and that there'll be a symbiotic relationship between lotteries and land-based casino in the online space, and that'll really meet the agenda of the state, which is to drive as much revenue as it can.
Yeah. You mentioned this is your first time in ICE. It's not your first time. April won't be your first time at Gigsy. What's the kind of flavour of the? If you give us a little preview of what you're anticipating from that event.
Sure. So I'm a land-based operator, and I went to Gigsy last year, and I very much look forward to attending Gigsy this year. As in fact, I've been invited to speak at Gigsy. In America, again, this was 2011, December, that it was announced that it'll be up to the states, and we knew that online gaming was coming. Gigsy was the first event in that timeline for me, which was April of last year. So it's 5 months after the announcement, and Gigsy happened to be in the right place at the right time. And my company took a look at it, and we looked at the agenda, and we said, there is a knowledge base there. And the knowledge base, a lot of it came from Europe. And there are a lot of European experts who have been in the online space looking to partner with potential shoo-ins because it wasn't really our expertise as online operators. Gigsy lent itself to both the European agendas and the land-based American casino operator agendas in that we know we should be and probably will be in this space, but we also need the expertise, and we are open to partnerships. Gigsy facilitated that last year with excellent executive insight, both from American casino operators as big as the biggest gaming operators in the US, and some of the ones from Europe as well. So when you bring those kind of thinkers together with integrity who want the best practice and logic and symbiotic relationships to prevail, you have a wonderful conference. So I very much look forward to being a part of Gigsy this year in a more integrated way by speaking. And I think I've learned a lot in the last year and a half, and I think Gigsy is a place to share knowledge and gain more.
Fantastic. Just my last question finally, the kind of strapline for the creative strapline for Gigsy for April is flip the switch.
What does that mean?
It means all systems go.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you think it's think that's an appropriate strapline?
And I'd have to think about that because flip the switch about anything scares the life out of me. I'm the kind of person that likes to wade into the pool and not make too many ripples because you jump in the middle, it inevitably splashes somebody somewhere. And there's too many unknowns right now. There's too much speculation, and no one really knows what's the best for everybody yet. So I don't want to spray and play and hope that the right thing happens. I think there's a lot of smart people in the world, in our two countries, in Europe and the United States, and there's a lot of experience. If we can weed out the personal agendas and those that are just looking to enrich themselves and really participate in the creation of something wonderful on the back of the explosion in social media, I think we have a chance as an industry to do something the right way if we don't just flip the switch.